It's Themistode, FightHype.com, here with Andre Rozier. What's going on, man?
What a deal, what a deal, what a deal, nephew.
So, we got to talk about your former fighter, Edgar Berlanga. He's kind of like the talk of the town, man. Parted ways with Top Rank. Now he just signed with Matchroom. What do you think about him signing over there?
Well, I think it's fantastic. He's found a new home. He should be getting ready for his first bout with Matchroom. And I'd like to see him focus up and prepare and get in there and do what I know he can actually do.
It was Matchroom, PBC, Golden Boy. All of them were pretty much chasing him. The overwhelming thought is that PBC has all of the 168 pounders. David Morrell, Dave Benavidez, Caleb Plant. Charlo could be moving up. Anthony Durrell still, somewhat of a name up there as well. Was it surprising for you to see that he decided to go with Matchroom instead of PBC?
Well, I think the move to Matchroom was a better strategic move. PBC is loaded with lots of competition. Most of those guys, if they weren't world champions, they still are. It's tough waters. It's tough waters, and you really can't practice and sharpen your craft fighting sharks left and right. It's very difficult.
Berlanga, well, I got a chance to talk to Eddie Hearn actually recently, and it was before Berlanga signed, but he was just by next year, he believes that Berlanga will be ready for Canelo. And Berlanga did say recently that, he eventually wants to fight Canelo. Do you think that Berlanga would be ready for him by next year?
I think he still needs more seasoning. He had a long layoff. That's a stagnation of his activity. And he has to clear rust and get sharp and be prepared. So I don't think 1 year is going to do it. He's still be in the fundamental forming stages, and he just needs to work to be right because he's still young.
What kind of opponent do you think would be best for him to fight next at 168 pounds? For him to kind of work that rust off and the layoff, and kind of prove that he's an upper tier guy.
Well, somebody that he could think a little bit with so he can formulate technique. Not somebody that's going to be coming and smoking a 1,000 miles an hour. He doesn't need that right now. He just needs somebody where he can correlate and articulate his punches in the ring and create some nuances and some ambiances and work on his craft, more importantly than anything else.
How long do you think it'll take Berlanga before he's ready for the elite level guys like Andrade, Canelo, Benavidez? How long do you think it is? 2 years, 3 years, next year?
Well, in my schedule of things, from just working with Edgar, as long as he's focused and really concentrating on boxing, I would say a year and a half, 2 years.
Gotcha. Now, obviously switching course, you have Richard Commey, who was just here. You're getting him ready for Jose Ramirez, March 25th in Fresno, California. How's training camp been going, man?
Oh, pretty good. We've been busting his butt, and he knows this is it. He has to really work hard because Ramirez is coming. You don't have to look for Ramirez. He's coming right down the pipe at you. And Richie has to be prepared for it. Benny Love. And we're just going to work to make sure he is on point and focused so we can win this fight. It's really important that we win this fight.
How exactly do you see it playing out? Jose is a guy who comes forward, throws a lot of punches, not exactly the biggest puncher, and Richard is a guy who throws bombs. So how do you kind of see it playing out a little bit?
Well, basically, just like you just stated now, Ramirez is going to throw volumes, and Richie has to put dynamite on his chin. It's not going to be a difficult task for him to find it. He's going to be there to be found. So when he does find him, I expect him to curl him up with that right hand, left hook, and just keep the pressure on him. If he cuts the shots loose correctly, and we know Ramirez has been on the canvas before, he might be visiting the canvas again.
You know, I wanted to ask you about Teofimo Lopez. That's a guy that Richard obviously fought a few years ago. He could be on his way. Seems like he's on his way to fighting Josh Taylor in the summertime. Could be. Do you think that's the right move for him right now, or do you want him to get a few more fights under his belt at 140?
I don't know why they're rushing him. He needs to acclimate to the weight. That's the first thing. He had 2 performances that gave him a lot of difficulty. The last one, a lot of people were under the impression that he came up short. Give him a chance to get fundamentally sound at 140. I mean, we know he can fight, but he has to change. He has to change a lot of his repertoire right now.
But that's kind of the difficulty, I guess. He's wanted Josh Taylor for a while. He's ranked, I believe, #1 or #2 in the WBC. I guess Jose Ramirez was, but he turned it down for money. And, you know, Teo was next up. So is it kind of, you know, for you being a coach, is it difficult for you to kind of bring your fighter in and say, all right, I don't want him to get necessarily to a world title fight just yet without hurting his confidence, so to speak?
Well, it's my job to create the directions. So if I'm looking and I'm saying to myself, we had some trouble, we still need to sharpen the tools up to be prepared for a world title fight, especially at another weight, then we have to make some adjustments. We have to create some new roads and start working on new attack measures so he can be victorious in a bout of that nature.
Taking Richie out of the equation, because you'll probably be biased with that, who do you think is the best guy at 140? Do you think it's Josh? Do you think it's Regis? Even though Josh did beat Regis, it was a few years ago, and Regis has gotten, you know, significantly better, at least in my opinion. Who do you think is the top guy at 140?
Well, I have to go with Taylor to this right now. I still have to. Nobody's knocked him off the peg. It would be Taylor, Prograis. I'd have to think about 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Got it.
But right now, it's almost like deja vu. Taylor and Prograis. Ramirez is somewhere in the mix, but he's lost some ground.
Just your official prediction on how, if Taylor versus Teofimo does happen, who do you think wins, and how exactly do you see it playing out?
Well, if they fight now, if that's their next bout, I have to go with Josh Taylor.
Gotcha.
I'm still not comfortable with what Lopez is doing in the ring at 140. He hasn't made those adjustments. My princess, and we need to make sure that happens. He has to make the adjustments so things will be correct.
Gotcha. Just to wrap this up, man. You know, we got Luis the Hammer Nunez fighting on April 8th. What can you kind of tell us about his opponent? Is it a step-up fight? Is it somebody just to keep loose? What can we kind of expect from his opponent, man?
Oh, well, his opponent is undefeated like he is. I think he's 20 or 21 and 0 with 7 KOs, and we're just getting Luis ready. Luis is a very entertaining fighter. He comes to fight, and he's going to bring a lot to the table when this fight happens.
Gotcha.
He plays no games, and he's very, very aggressive, and almost to the point where he's mean.
How far away from a world title shot do you think he actually is?
If I venture to say, I think we need about 3 more fights, and he'll be ready.
Gotcha. And actually, this is my last one. You were one of the only guys that said Canelo can lose to Bivol. One of the only ones. So
thank you, nephew.
Don't want to hype you up too much, but he did as well. We'll get him on.
I'm not.
He did say it though. He did say it. So you know, Canelo. I mean, he wants the rematch. There are reports that he could end up fighting Bivol at 168 instead of 175. Would you give Canelo the edge if it's at 168 or not really?
I wouldn't give Canelo the edge if it was 154 and they both are 54. Bivol is just too sound a technician in the ring, and there's no way that Canelo's going to be able to beat him.
Do you think it's gonna? Because I know a lot of people thought it was one-sided that fight. Do you think it's even more lopsided the second time around?
Yeah, I think so, because he's coming off a very big win against
Gilberto
Ramirez, and Ramirez was talking smack for a minute, and he didn't rise to the occasion. I mean, he was schooled. So Bivol is on a fantastic high. I mean, in another minute, forget about it. And he's not an old guy. He's a young guy. His tools are he doesn't play with secondhand tools. His tools are from Sears and Roebuck. The stuff that lasts a lifetime. The boy's a bad boy, and he represents boxing in an incredible way.
Gotcha. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, man.